Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from, is it winter? Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
The podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about something that only happens once. Once in a very special while, Dan. The emergence of a new general handbook of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Did you guys know that the Mormons have a handbook? Can I be honest with you? I didn't know that the whole time I was a Mormon, the entire time I was a Mormon, I didn't know there was a handbook.
Yeah, it's just for the local leaders, right? The bishops and stake presidents and whatnot, so that they can reference, so they can seek guidance, right, on various different topics, and sort of know what the church's official stance is on those topics. Well, anyway, it's kind of telling some of the additions and changes that have been made, and we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, it's literally them telling on themselves about what they're scared of. So we'll let them tell on themselves later on in the show.
Then,
coming up though, before we get to our stuff, we got to talk about the big New Year's Eve shebang.
New Year's Eve, Dan.
Extravaganza.
Live streaming event with yours truly, the two of us, both of us.
And,
would that be...
and yours truly. So that's either two or one people, depending.
And we're going to be ringing in the new year across most of the country. We're going to start with the East Coast. We're going to start at what would be 11 p.m. Eastern time. Right. So 10
so
Central,
we're starting at
9 Mountain.
9 p.m. for us in the Mountain
8 Pacific
time zone.
Right. That's when the whole thing is going to start. And then we're going to be ringing in 3 time zones. And we're gonna have a whole bunch of guests along the way. Can we say who we've booked so far?
We're gonna have some friends. We're gonna have Daryl Ray's gonna come on and chat with us. We talked about the Scathing Atheist boys. They're gonna be there. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have a stand-up comic, at least one.
That's pretty cool.
We're going to have, who else are we going to have? We're going to have some old friends of the show come on.
Some voices you've heard on the show in the past. And so we have some commitments from former guest hosts and some people who've been involved with the show through the years.
Some of you may have a favorite uncle or two who are definitely going to show up. So there's a lot of fun shit that's going to happen. We're just going to have a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we're working hard to try and get this thing going.
Yeah, and it's.
I mean, don't go expecting too damn much.
It's
don't
gonna
get
be
your
a
expectations
fucking party,
too high.
Dan. Okay,
but it's a party. That's what we're shooting for. Is a lot of fun, and you know, I don't quote me on this. We haven't solidified the dates yet. But we're pretty sure Donnie and Marie are going to be there. I can't officially announce it.
Yeah.
It's not official that the Osmonds, all of the Osmonds, also all of their brothers, are going to be Skyping in from Branson. I can't guarantee
or Provo,
that.
or Orem,
or wherever.
But also, if you do want to participate or not participate, and if you do want to tune in and be a part of the big party, please go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/NYE2020, or just go to the website. You can just go there too, and there's a little banner you can click on.
Yep.
But what's critical here is that you pre-register so that we can invite you to the event.
We'll send out the big email closer to the time.
Absolutely.
So definitely you'll want to get on that list.
Yeah.
So go to our website.
And in a worst case scenario, go to our website. Like if you're like, oh, I don't have anything to do, it's New Year's Eve. Go to our website. You'll be able to watch it on the website. You'll
be able to find it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. We haven't even announced all the people that are going to be on it. I think, Dan. Somebody's mom might show up. Oh, who knows? No one's mom is going to be on it. Someone might be a mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
right, Dan.
I'm pretty sure that Eli's a mother. Anyway, go on.
I've got stories, Dan.
Let's do the stories.
That's what we do. at this point in the show. We talk about something that happened in the world. And I've got a fun story.
Okay.
Featuring one of our... And by that sound, I guess you guys should know, it's not really that fun of a story.
Yeah.
It's and it features somebody who we play clips from time to time. Coach Dave. He's in the news, Dan. He's in the news. Coach Dave is actually in the news. This is from like the Cincinnati .com.
Cincinnati shitbird.
I don't know which news source that's linked to. But anyway, he and a group of fellow Christians went to pray at the Great Serpent Mound, which is located in southern Ohio. It's a Native American site. Are you familiar with the mounds, Dan, that are common throughout the Midwest?
Sure, I've heard of the mounds. Yeah, the various your various sacred mounds.
Yeah, they're often burial places, I believe, but they're sacred places to the Native Americans, and clearly not very sacred to people like Dave Dobenmeyer.
Oh my God!
Because they felt the need to go there and to rid it of its dark energy.
Oh my God!
That it releases into the world. I don't know how a mound of dirt with some bones in it possibly could be doing that, but they think it did. So they went there on the solstice of all days to go, because
what kind of pagan crazy nonsense is this?
I know. Well, what's amazing is they end up posting. It's funny you use the word pagan, Dan, because they put on their posted video on YouTube of their whole event, and what ends up going down is the title of it is "Pagans Try to Prevent Prayer," because and I don't know who he thinks is a pagan here, but I think that it's the Native Americans who caught wind that he was going there.
Of course,
and showed up to sort of counter protest,
to just say, please don't do this.
Get off this land, right?
Oh my God.
This is sacred to us. And it's kind of horrifying. Let me get into the story a little bit more. In the video, oh God, I watched the video. I watched the one that Dave Dobenmeyer posted as well, because I was like, I might as well watch and see what they think was so great that they did, right?
Right.
So
they're very proud, whatever it is.
It starts off with a little circle of middle-aged white men and like two women, and they're doing their little prayer. And then after a period of time, one of the Native American fellows that was there, he starts coming in from behind and saying, you need to leave. You have no right and no business doing this on this sacred site where our ancestors are buried. And he says, you're not going any further, because they were kind of out in the parking lot. They weren't actually at the mound yet.
Sure.
And so one of the Christians approaches the main guy who organized the Native American response. His name is Philip Yenyo, and he's actually the executive director of the American Indian Movement of Ohio. And so, like, this guy's involved in his community, and he felt the need to show up. But anyway, this white guy goes up and starts approaching him, and it was really gross. He did that thing where, like, Yenyo was kind of like this guy was kind of getting up into his space, and so Yenyo puts his arm up to kind of just like protect himself, and so the guy kept lurching into his arm, yelling, "Get out of!" No, he said, "Don't touch me." This white guy. He's running into the guy who's trying to protect himself, and he's saying, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" Like he's totally trying to instigate a fight, right?
Right.
Like really, really gross behavior.
Mom, Yenyo's touching me.
Anyway, so Yenyo says, "Don't tell me to get out of the way on my own land." It's our birthright. It's our sacred site. And so this asshole goes, your land, show me your deed. Show me your deed. It's not your land. It's not your land. Right.
Right.
And so another person from the prayer group is like, it's public land. This land will not be taken in the name of Jesus, or this land will be taken in the name of Jesus. And so Yenyo goes, this land was already taken a long time ago. You people keep taking it. Right. Anyway, apparently, New Age folk and Wiccans also like to show up to the mounds, and like the Native Americans are getting really, really tired of this.
I can't imagine why.
He said that there are people buried there. The place is sacred to them. And yeah, it's basically just got to stop. But anyway, Dobenmeyer, he said that the Native American group was disruptive of their prayers and yelled at them as they were praying. He said that they were the aggressors in this situation.
Of course. That's just how they operate. I mean,
it's disgusting.
Can we just agree that someone from the Satanic Temple needs to go to Dobenmeyer's house and just do some black masses or whatever it is they want to do?
No kidding. I just these people, they're so gross. And the whole thing, and Dan, the details in this video, like at one point, one of the Christian guys is holding up a bunch of rocks in his hand, and they're like chanting and blessing the rocks. Like, I don't know what the fuck form of Christianity they think they're practicing.
Right?
Like, it's so insane. Showing up on the solstice because they're talking about it's the darkest day of the year and all this crap. And it's like, I don't think you guys are like, I don't think you're practicing the religion that you think you're practicing.
Yeah. Do you guys know your religion? Do you know anything about your religion? Because you're kind of doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're supposed to be really, really boring.
Oh, Lordy Jesus. Okay, fine. They're being dicks. Speaking of dicks, I'm going to talk a little bit about Pat Robertson.
Oh,
we're not playing his clip this week because we found another clip that just delighted me for our audio later on. But Pat definitely had some things to say this week. I'm going to remind you guys before we get to what he said this week of what he said, and I think we played this clip just like less than a month ago, which was that he. This was after the election. This was weeks after the election. It was clear that Biden had won the presidential election here in these United States, and many on the right almost nobody on the right had come to terms with it. Right. They were still certain that Trump was going to win. That has started to wane now. It's like now that the opportunities for shenanigans have dwindled down to almost zero, even Mitch McConnell has sort of dropped any pretense that it's going to be anything other than Biden. But back in November, Patty Boy had this to say. He said, "We will not give up this great country. And Satan, you cannot have it in the name of Jesus." And he says, "And I began to pray, and I believe God has heard. And I'm asking everybody in this audience to pray. It isn't over yet." And he blathered on for a while, and then he said, he's talking about how, socialism is going to take away your car and, stop people from flying airplanes and stuff. He says, I mean, it is crazy what they have. Yeah, Pat, that sounds pretty crazy. You're correct. That's crazy. And then he ends by saying, "So let us pray." And what am I hearing? I think Trump's going to ultimately win.
What?
So that was Pat, prophetic, hearing the promptings of the Spirit, telling him that Trump's going to win.
Oh my God.
That was then, and this is now. And now here's what he said. He said, "I think it's all over. I think the Electoral College has spoken. I think The Biden corruption has not totally been brought to fruition, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the Electoral College. And I don't think the Supreme Court is going to move in to do anything, and I think we are going to see a President Biden. And then this one was interesting. And I also think we will be seeing a President Kamala Harris not too long after the inauguration of President Biden.
Ooh, he's predicting Biden's death.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's counting on Joe to keel over.
I mean, we all kind of know it's happening, right? Like,
well, I don't know. He's still shuffling.
No, he's doing a good job.
He's still got some vim to him.
Oh, he totally does. It was a bad joke on my part.
Yeah,
but we all figure though that he's probably going to serve only one term and then hand over the reins. That's what I
really
assume.
hope so.
Because electing an 82-year-old at that point? Isn't he like 78?
Yeah, he's old.
He's old. And hopefully he's up for the job.
Yeah.
So
he'll be fine. Kamala will step in if she needs to.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. She's
anyway, Mr. Robertson goes on.
I thought okay, there's more.
He's not just talking about Biden. He says this is his quasi defense of Donald Trump. He says the president still lives in an alternate reality. He really does. And now, at this point, if he stopped right there, he and I are on the same page. Because, Trump definitely lives in an alternate reality. But that's not where he stops. He says, people say, well, he lies about this, that, and the other. But no, he isn't lying. To him, that's the truth. He had the biggest crowd on Inauguration Day. He had more people than ever. He was the most popular. He saved NBC with The Apprentice. You go down the line of things that really aren't true. And people kept pointing to them, but because they loved him so much and he was so strong for the evangelicals were with him all the way.
What?
What are you trying to say, Pat? He goes on, but there was something about him that was good, that God placed him in that office.
No, there wasn't.
He's done a marvelous job for the economy.
Oh, God.
I love that thing. By the way, the stock market is not the economy.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
If you think that the Dow Jones Industrial Average equals the economy, you need to take some serious classes on economics. But anyway.
Okay.
But Pat goes on, but at the same time, he's very erratic. And he's fired people, and he's fought people, and he's insulted people, and keeps going down the line. So it's a mixed bag. And I think it would be well to say, you've had your day, and it's time to move on.
Oh. Okay.
He doesn't even want him to run in 4 years. He's ready to be done with the guy.
God, if he runs in 4 years.
I don't. Hopefully, he won't be a free man in 4 years. But
one can
we'll
hope.
See.
Yeah, or maybe he'll be living in exile.
Yeah,
Not like official exile, but like the fact that he's running from the law.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Florida doesn't want him.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
We have our New Year's Eve thing that's coming up, and
yes, we do. Have we mentioned that, everybody?
Because we know people are looking for things to do, right?
Right.
And somebody else who seems to know that people are looking for things to do is Kirk Cameron. Of sort of what he was on Growing Pains, right? The sitcom back in the 80s and 90s.
Sir. He was
Growing Pains.
He was a childhood, a young star.
Yeah,
back in the 80s.
And apparently he's gone on to star in like Christian films.
Oh yeah, now he's Mr. He's super duper Christian,
super crazy Christian, and he's not having any of this like we're not doing anything for Christmas nonsense.
Oh, it'd be the worst thing in the world.
And so he had a protest last Sunday night that he promoted on Instagram. Apparently, he has a strong Instagram following.
Wow.
So he had hundreds of maskless people gathered together in Thousand Oaks in a parking lot, singing Christmas carols at the top of their lungs in order to hold what he calls part town hall meeting, part worship service. He says, if you love God, if you love Christmas, and you love liberty, you're not going to want to miss this, he said when promoting the whole thing. Anyway, he also had a gathering earlier in December that he brought together 500 people as part of a nationwide movement called Sing It Louder USA. Did you know about this?
No.
And of course, it's all protesting the restrictions on social distancing, right, and also
because what could be more Christian
and stuff
than infecting your fellow man with a deadly disease?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're learning a lot about Christianity, I think, through this whole thing, and really, like I don't think it's I don't know. It doesn't seem to be very benign. Sort of movement, is it? Like it's sort of this crazy, like fucked up death cult at this point.
You know, maybe I think I just stumbled on something. Maybe the reason that they're not that they're not trying to fight COVID-19 the way they ought to be is because Christianity is a virus itself, and game respect game. I'm just saying.
It just isn't going to get in the way of another virus.
No, man. That's a
theory.
fist bump, and let's spread you around.
Yeah, get out
because Christianity is pretty fucking virulent, man.
Good God, and nasty.
Well, so there you go. You can have your super spreader fun there.
Just go to Thousand Oaks, everybody.
Well, you don't have to go to Thousand Oaks because you can stay, anywhere really in Los Angeles County is going to do you up just great because even though Los Angeles County is a hotspot and needs to be locked down, as any scientist would be able to tell you, they are going to allow their churches to be open for Christmas.
Oh, my God.
Or rather, they did. I guess the people that hear this are going to hear it after Christmas. So
yeah.
They allowed. I assume we'll just assume that it played out this way. But yes, as of right now, the plan is to allow the churches to be open for Christmas. So I assume that they will have done by the time our listeners hear this, which is crazy. But, of course, there was that recent Supreme Court decision that basically said that churches are an essential business, just like a grocery store or, a shopping center or laundromat or whatever. So you can't close it down, even though it's entirely different and basically designed by God to spread disease. Like, an airborne disease cannot be spread more efficiently than by crowding everybody into a room and telling them to sing
and chant.
Apparently they will need to be somewhat socially distanced by household. So your household needs to be distanced from other households. I've seen these people. They will not do it. We know that they won't do it. They are required to wear masks. I'll bet you money they don't. But
wasn't there like a whole part of it where you're supposed to shake hands with everybody?
Depends on your church, but sure, why not? You know what I mean? Like, they can't be bothered. They can't change anything about their own thing to save each other's lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's for each other. Don't even worry about the rest of us for this thing. You guys are infecting yourselves. Well, what are you doing?
They're infecting themselves, right? And everybody else in their community. And then on top of it all, Dan, they're all a little weird about the vaccine.
Yeah.
Right?
What are you doing? What are you people doing? It's literally like we may not have to worry about Christianity after this. It may be enough
care
that
of itself.
The problem seems to be evolution will find a way.
Yeah. I actually brought up vaccines and sort of religious folks' weirdness about the vaccines because I've got a couple stories. I have actually two different stories I want to talk about regarding the COVID-19 vaccines that are out there in the world. The first story has to do with Muslims and concern over the fact that the vaccines may contain pork gelatin. You can't. Muslims can't eat pork.
Oh my god. So you're telling me that the vaccine is haram?
So let's get into that. It's possible that in some interpretations that they would consider it to be haram. And that has to do with the fact, so here's the deal. Nobody's 100% as far as these articles are concerned, nobody knows exactly if this is a concern with one or both or all three or four or whatever the vaccines that are out there. Because let's see, there's the two main Western ones. There's the Chinese one. And isn't there like another one that's about to hit?
There's a Russian one.
There's a Russian one, right? And so there's this concern, depending on where you live in the world and which vaccine is going to be coming your direction, right? About, which one doesn't contain pork? Because a lot of vaccines do, apparently.
That's interesting.
They use it as the pork gelatin as a stabilizer, apparently.
Sure.
But anyway.
What's more stable than a pig?
They're stout little fellows, right? It's low center of gravity. Have you ever tried to knock over a pig? You can't do it.
You can't tip a pig. Don't even try it.
You can tip a cow, but you can't tip a pig.
Can't tip a pig.
Anyway, so in response to these concerns, at least one group is coming out. The United Arab Emirates highest Islamic authority, the UAE Fatwa Council, has said that it is permissible for Muslims to take a vaccine that contains pork gelatin.
Those liberals over in the United Arab Emirates, come on. I'm supposed to believe that?
So, and here's where it gets interesting. It is medicine and not food.
Right.
And because
that's true, they don't eat it.
You don't eat it. It's injected into you, right?
Huh.
So that's where they're kind of like making it work for them. But even if it was considered eating pork, right? Consuming pork.
Right.
They really, there's just this argument that's like, it's for the greater good, right? Like this is, like this would be permissible because of the high risk that COVID-19 poses to society, and that you were doing a good thing by being vaccinated against it. And so therefore, Allah, he's kind of a dick about things, but we think he's going to look the other way on this one.
We think he'll give you a little wink and a nod.
Yeah, he's not going to hold it too much against you. And then over at the Vatican, the Vatican has determined that it is morally acceptable to receive a vaccine for COVID-19, even if the vaccine's research or production involved using cell lines derived from aborted fetuses.
Oh, amazing. Great.
Isn't
this is where like religion is so fucking stupid, because like the fact that you have to parse out these tiny little, like, okay, look, you can have any objection. Like, I can see vegans having an objection to the pork thing, but in the end, shut up. Just like, this is how it's got to happen.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's a better way, but we don't have the better way right now. This is what we've got, and it's really, really important that people do it. Right. So just shut up.
I mean, I would think though that vegans have the most legitimate argument, of like to a certain extent. To a certain extent.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
like I agree, just suck it up and get the goddamn thing, right?
Right.
But they're against, animal products of any kind, and blah, 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 blah. So, like, at least theirs, like, sort of makes sense, rather than carving out something like, well, we're okay with aborted, fetus tissues being used over here because of the grave danger, quote unquote, of the pandemic and the need to, like, get a vaccine out and blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, so you're fine with abortion when it's saving a bunch of old men, right? But when that abortion is actually, I don't know, maybe being sought by a poor teenage girl, right?
Right.
Different story.
Let's be clear.
Different story.
Let's be clear that actually cell lines from that are used in this kind of research are probably not from an abortion. Actually, there's just that one cell line, right?
I'm not sure how it all works, but
I think it might be like from in vitro fertilization or something like that, and you just take an embryo.
Right, but they are specifically using the language, the Vatican is. And this is important because this is their understanding of it. This is what they're grappling with, right? It doesn't matter what the reality is, right?
Right.
It's the fact that they're sitting here feeling the need to be like, well, okay, but
because they see in vitro as problematic. They see if you create a fetus, if you create an embryo, that's a human, and then if that embryo never is allowed to become a human, then shit, it must be an abortion.
Right, which is stupid. But all right,
idiots.
So I do want to read this part of the statement just because it really shows off the mental gymnastics that were required for them. It says all vaccinations recognized as clinically safe and effective can be used in good conscience with the certain knowledge that the use of such vaccines does not constitute formal cooperation with the abortion from which the cells used in production of the vaccines derive. It should be emphasized, however, that the morally licit use of these types of vaccines, in particular conditions that make it so, does not in itself constitute a legitimation, even indirect, of the practice of abortion, and necessarily assumes the opposition to this practice by those who make use of these vaccines.
Oh, shut up.
Can you fucking...
all of you have to shut up now. Just shut up and take your medicine. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I fucking love it. Oh.
Could anything be more annoying than religious people trying to square their Stone Age beliefs with like scientific reality?
Yeah, I know. Amazing.
All right. Well, speaking of Stone Age, there's trouble at Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve.
No.
And the trouble is not to do with the fact that Dick Clark is now dead.
But it's still branded?
Trouble...
Is that still the name of it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why. I mean, look, if it's not Dick Clark's, then who's rocking the Eve, really? Anyway, they were gonna do it this year, I guess.
What?
I don't know what they're gonna do? Well, everybody, all the stars Skyping in from their various apartments or something, but they're planning on doing it, but they're going to do it without Christian pop star Lauren Daigle.
Oh, no.
Why? I don't know if you know Lauren Daigle.
Oh,
this is
top of my rotation, Dan.
Yeah. This is Dove Award winning Lauren Daigle. She does have some, like, one hit song. I don't remember what it is. You and I are probably not the best people to be talking about pop music. I'm not up on
How
the
dare
pop
you?
music. Maybe you are. Maybe you were. Maybe you're like you screamed with giddiness when the new Taylor Swift album came out. But
you know me very well, Dan.
Indeed. Anyway, Ms. Daigle will not be joining the Rockin' Eve. She neither she nor Dick Clark now. That's two that they're out. She was dropped, or rather she claims that there was never an agreement, but she was dropped from the broadcast after she got in some hot water recently in New Orleans, which is her hometown.
Okay.
When she participated in in a rally called Let Us Worship by a guy named Sean, and I know the German pronunciation of his last name, but I'm just going to say fucked. Because he is pretty fucked about the whole thing. Anyway, this guy, I've really tried to avoid talking about him and giving him airtime, but he has been going around the country holding giant maskless rallies to protest all of this government overreach and all of this oppression of Christianity that's been happening. And so, literally, he went to D.C. and he did this thing in New Orleans. Ms. Daigle participated, sang for them. At which point, the mayor of New Orleans, LaTanya Cantrell, was like, you know what? Fuck that shit. This is nonsense. I mean, she didn't say it quite that way, but she was pretty upset about the whole thing, right. Which I think she should have been. So yeah, there was enough outcry about this that apparently now there are consequences for this young starlet, Miss Daigle,
as there should be,
and she will not be able to perform. Meanwhile,
I'm very upset though.
Sean Fucked is taking his show to Los Angeles and doing a whole thing that he's trying to do for like a concert for the homeless. And homeless advocates are jumping in and saying, please don't do a super spreader event for the homeless.
Yeah, that's really
because
gross.
That's the opposite of what's good.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Oh, man. I just can't imagine how, I guess, when you've joined the cult of Trump and then Trump gives you all, every kind of mixed message about whether the disease is real and whether masks help and blah, blah, blah. And just all Trump wants to do is fan flames. All Trump wants to do is sow chaos. And then all these ding-dongs just jump right in. And just end up, killing a bunch of folks. So there you go. Don't go to any of the things, everybody.
Stay home.
If you'd like to tell us about anything that we've, take us to task for anything we've said or tell us about fun little gatherings in your neck of the woods, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, guys. There is more show coming right up. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
So this next fellow we're going to be listening to, we had a little discussion earlier about the color of his, the tint of his skin.
The hue,
think is probably the
if you
hue.
will. I literally, I texted you the clip and said, what color would you say this guy is? Because would you tell them what your coloring suggestion was?
I sort of saw like he has sort of a grayness to his skin, and so but he also is kind of has a lot of rosiness at the same time, and so I just was like dusty rose.
Yeah, I would say he's got a sort of colloidal silver to the whole aura, but basically he's zombie blue. I think is the correct color.
Could just be colloidal blue.
Oh my God, he looks a fright.
Yeah.
And then
just a shock of white hair.
Yes, bright white hair. I think maybe maybe he's in front of a green screen and they don't know how to light it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because there's a guy playing the keyboard behind him that looks pretty legit.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think
it's really weird.
It's very, very strange. Anyway, he's still holding out hope that Donald Trump is going to come through
in the best possible way.
So, but it's a little upsetting right now to be holding out that hope. So let's hear him out.
We petition the courts and we ask, Lord, that as it is written in the books of heaven, as it has been ordained in the councils of heaven, that President Donald J. Trump shall be reset and shall be reseated as the President of the United States of America. You, Lord, will arise and you will cause my President, Donald J. Trump, to be reset and to be reseated, Jesus. Would you grant that it would be done, Lord?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, Robert Henderson, you are upset, my friend. Do you need somebody get that man a tissue?
Oh, the poor guy. Oh,
he is.
You know, they had everything they wanted, didn't they?
They're running, and the thing is that
really did.
They had a full head of steam about him. Yeah. He's gonna make it. We're going to get through this, and Trump's... You'll see. You'll see. You guys are doubters, but you're going to be amazed at what's about to happen. Oh, wait. What did the Electoral College do? What? They did? Oh. Well, it's still going to be okay. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. Wait, what did the courts threw it out? I'm like... Well, it's still going to happen, and Jesus is going to come, and he's going to make it all better for everybody. This is my president. Mine. All right. I don't care about you. It is a little delightful to watch, though. Yeah. Their pain gives me life.
Why?
Oh, well, we had some folks communicate with us. This is from Claire, who says, "Hi, Frank and Dan. I've been listening to you for a long while now, and I always enjoy your podcast. Thank you. I've never been one to write into my podcasts. I'm shy like that, but I wanted to give you my perspective on the Viking religion you've mentioned in the podcast." Frank, you remember this? You talked about a Viking religion called, what was it called? It was called Asatru.
Yes.
Anyway, Claire goes on, "I find it so disappointing that white nationalists / racists have grabbed onto the Vikings to support their agenda. I'm an American, ex-Mormon, currently living in Scotland, having grown up in several states, Belgium, and, in my most formative years, Denmark. I'm a Viking reenactor. And we focus on public education as well as a bit of entertainment, because everybody loves seeing a sword fight with real swords. A lot of what we do, however, is called living history, where we talk about how they may have lived based on archaeological evidence, what foods would have been eaten, demonstrating craft skills and foraging, and talking about trade routes. I got into silversmithing because of the Viking reenactment, and I often use runes to write on jewelry. Anyway, everyone I know here interested in the Vikings are interested in the history and the crafts. I know several people who call themselves heathens or follow Wodinism, Asatru, and white pride has never come into it. I might be naive, but a religion established around a Germanic tribe's gods isn't inherently racist. It makes me really sad that Vikings are associated with racists. I've even put a disclaimer on my Etsy shop that says I do not approve of the use of Viking symbols for racists or white nationalist agendas. And if you disagree, please do not purchase from me. Oh, Claire.
Nice. Yeah.
You might be fighting an uphill battle on that one. Oh. I don't know. But yes, you're right. It's I mean, yeah, it's a shame that they would have to associate something unrelated with their racism and their white nationalism. Like, yeah, the belief in Odin and Thor has literally nothing to do with race.
Right.
Inherently, I suppose.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it does. I don't know enough about Vikings to know how racist they were. I assume they were probably racist. Everybody was. Anyway,
it's just good as who know. I don't know. I can't weigh in on it.
It's impossible to know. It's impossible to know. But they had good crafts.
Literally no way of.
They had good crafts, and that's what's important. We had somebody call into us as well, didn't we?
We did. This listener called in to talk about the MLM topic that we brought up.
The multi-level marketing.
And sort of the way it was in response. We talked about it in response to an email, right?
Right.
Somebody had written in asking, why is there this like affinity between MLMs and Mormons, and why are so many based in Utah and so forth? And we gave our opinion as to why that would be. Lauren has paid really close attention to the topic, and this is what she has to say about it.
This is Lauren, one of your longtime listeners out of D.C., but I'm from Utah originally, so I definitely understand when you're reporting on Utah. I wanted to weigh in on the conversation that you were having this week regarding MLMs, because while I agree that there is a significant client base and community, as well as some transferable skills when it comes to marketing and sales in general, I think that one of the most devastating and sinister aspects of MLMs really plays out within the moms of Utah, because so frequently, regardless of the educational attainment that women in Utah have, they're primarily responsible for the child care. So whether you're talking about a woman who works part-time or full-time outside of the home, or a woman who is a full-time mom, doesn't have any other source of income, the idea that you can have your own business, quote unquote, right, and set your own schedule, make extra money on the side, and really only just have to sell to your friends is something that's very attractive. And so I've actually seen this happen to so many women in Utah, regardless of whether they never finished high school or they're a PhD candidate. And the financial consequences are truly devastating. And so when we talk about MLMs, I don't think that we're going to see any progress in addressing them until we address how gendered they are frequently. Anyway, I probably rambled a bit more, but always happy to talk MLMs, and I appreciate you having that conversation on the show. Thanks so much. Bye.
Well, thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
She brings up something that we didn't touch upon at all, which is the also the financial consequences of getting involved in an MLM.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even think about that. That I mean, they in order to sort of be a full participant, right? They set you up on like an auto ship or something like that costs you, hundreds of dollars every month, let's say, right? In product that you have to get. Right, from the company in order to make money off of your downline. Right,
and then you're supposed to sell it, but your business, your real business, is not selling the product. No. It's getting other people to sell the product below you, and their real business is getting other people to sell the product below them. And it's an unsustainable and actually impossible marketing strategy for the people that are supposed to be starting their own quote unquote business, and almost nobody makes real money doing it,
except for the people at the top who make a fortune.
Right, but most people, and this is our warning to you. This is the TGIA official don't do this. Literally, don't do multi-level marketing. Don't sign up. Don't give it a try.
Yep.
A few people make some money off of it. If you happen to be lucky enough to have like real go-getters in your downline, then you can make some money. But for the most part, people get deeply, deeply hurt. And even if you're making money, you're signing up people who will get hurt by this thing.
Yep, exactly.
It's kind of gross. So definitely don't do it. But the gender thing is a huge thing, Lauren. You're absolutely right. It's about preying on the fears of women who, especially in Utah, but like a lot of the time, it's people and mostly women who didn't have any skills, and then suddenly, or you get a lot of these Mormon women who married at 19. Didn't go to school, didn't get a career going. They got, they spent the whole time raising their family and got their husband's career going great. And then they get a divorce and the women are left with nothing and they don't know what to do with themselves. So they sign up for this thing thinking, okay, well, I'm starting my own business, and then they just get wrecked. So,
yeah.
Woo! Fun. We're having fun, you guys. Oh, you know what? I want to talk really quickly about the video thing. We want you guys to send in videos for the New Year's Eve thing. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
But definitely what we want you to do, keep it under a minute.
Yep.
But make a video. Then you can go to our website. Do we have a thing for uploading set up yet?
Yes, it is. It's up and running. You go to thankgodimatheist.com/NYE videos.
Okay.
And type that in, and it'll take you to the page, and you can upload it right there.
Yeah, so you don't need to be able to email it or whatever. You can upload it directly to us, and then.
In fact, email for video probably isn't going to work. So
so don't try to email it to us, but just go to thankgodimatheist.com/NYE videos.
Yep.
And then just send a video. It can just be saying hi, but mostly what we want to hear about is like, how was your 2020? What are you looking forward to in 2021? What's going to save you in 2021?
And be sure to wish everybody a Happy New Year's.
Yeah. It's mostly for fun. Probably don't bring everybody down too hard, but we do want to hear how you're doing. So let us know. Send us a 1-minute video or less. 20 seconds is fine. Whatever you got in you, and we want you to appear on the show. So do that, and then we got one person to thank this week.
Well, let's first just say, if you'd like to support the show, please go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the support tab. And then, of course, there's our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis. Hey, Dan.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever actually had access to the general handbook of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
No. I need to get one of those.
You should.
For my collection.
Read.
I'll bet somebody out there has one and they can
love to send
us
copies. I want one.
Email us and send us and we'll give you an address to send the official handbook to.
Yeah. Anyway, on my mission, one of the missionaries in my district, this is a little, sorry, I'm throwing jargon around.
It's okay.
In the district, he was actually the branch president for our local branch because the branch didn't have anybody to lead it, right? So there was always one of the missionaries, one of these 20-year-olds who was the branch president,
the de facto pastor over
the pastor of the congregation, right. And so he had one of them, and that's the first time I ever really thumbed through it.
Was it in English or Italian?
It was in English.
Okay.
And it was, I mean, I'm sure that they existed in Italian, but like, this one was in English, and it was wild. Like every single topic that you could come up with, and was sort of addressed. It's a very thick little book. If I remember right, it also had like telephone numbers for like higher ups in the church as well at the back of it. I don't know if they still do that. But you could like look up numbers of like general authorities and everything.
Oh, great.
And give them a call, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Just reach out and have a little chat.
Sometimes you need to have a chat.
But like, and then it just like really clearly stated like the church's stance on any sort of controversial topic like homosexuality or whatever.
Right, because here's
abortion,
the thing. The guys that have this, and it is all going to be guys, the men that are in possession of this thing, have it because they are the bishops of their ward or whatever. And I'll remind our listeners that in the Mormon religion, it's all lay clergy. There's nobody that went to divinity school or anything like that. These are just the doofus down the street. Yeah. It's his turn for 4 years to be bishop of the ward.
Doesn't work exactly like that, but yeah.
It's basically that. And
that's basically it.
Well, sorry, Jesus has said it's time for him to do it. Anyway, then everyone in the neighborhood, the whole congregation, has to come to him and like tell him all of their dirty fucking secrets, and then he's got to figure out what to do about it. It covers a lot of things. So they're
how to bishop.
Yeah, exactly. And so, there you go. They've got, it has to cover a broad range of topics, and there are new topics that come up that they have to sort of grapple with. So, for instance, they're making some new changes to the handbook, some of which include things like medical marijuana, which now it says that. And the best part is that they're clearly trying to get the lingo down,
right?
Because the quote is this. The church does not approve of vaping marijuana unless the medical provider has authorized it based on medical necessity.
Oh.
Vaping,
yeah.
So apparently smoking
an edible would be more likely.
Oh, yeah, an edible's fine. Totally good. But not vaping. Don't vape it. Dosage and mode of administration from the physician or other authorized medical provider is what's required. So they're down with the weed, apparently, as long as it's medicinal, man. So that's good. They basically, they talk about a bunch of stuff. They talk about cremation, which is interesting because there's always been sort of rumors that you're not supposed to cremate, but like it's problematic because a lot of places like you're required to cremate the remains of a loved one.
Right.
And also like, some people die in fires. You know what I mean? Like some people get cremated. So, I mean, well, the idea was somewhat that like your body is supposed to rise up after the resurrection, and what if it's cremated? Can that body rise up as if they aren't like decomposed completely by the...
Yeah, but that's why it needs to be in a coffin, in like some concrete box.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that your remains are just right there. No, that's insanity.
You dipshits.
The whole thing is insanity. But that's just like if let's just assume that some god can just be like, oh, hey, dead, rotted corpse, be alive,
right?
And can't find your finger halfway across the planet,
put things back together or whatever.
Come on,
stupid.
No, this whole cremation thing's really funny because I know that the church has had a stance against cremation, where it's they strongly advise against, right? In the past, but my parents, they are all set up to be cremated. Right.
That's cool.
And my dad was a bishop. He knows this stuff. Right. He knows that the church has this stance. And I did I challenge them on it? Well, I remember being surprised when they were like, "Oh yeah, we bought a plot and it allows for the cremains, right? Which is such a great word.
Oh my god, it's so terrible. Of
like up to so many people in the one plot, so you can have your cremains put there too." And I'm like, no fucking way. Nobody is flying me back to Oklahoma to be put in some piece of ground in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. No.
Well, what are we going to do with your cremains then, Frank?
Throw them in the trash. I don't care.
Right. Oh my god.
I have no sense of something must happen to my body that's like blah.
Yes. Well, anyway, the church, quote, does not encourage cremation, but they do note that it's not the worst thing in the world, and they say, quote, members should be reassured that the power of resurrection always applies.
But I hate just the phrasing of this, that the church does not encourage cremation, but the update notes that some countries require it. Like that whole thing, right? Like saying, okay, we don't encourage it, but we get that it's required in some places. It's stating their preference, though.
Yeah,
clearly.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely turning their nose up at it.
Like if some places require it, then just flat out fucking make it. Then just it's just allowed. Quit making the poor people in whatever corner of the world who, and I say poor people because they've become Mormons. Quit making them feel bad.
Right.
Yeah. That their little corner of the world, it's just required.
If resurrection works, then it fucking
just works.
And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to turn your nose up all snooty snoot.
I don't know. Jesus has to try harder though with the cremains.
Yeah,
he's just like
it's more work. You got to put it. You got to find all the little tiny pieces and put them back together. It's tough. It's tough.
So hard.
There were some just the most, I gotta say, pathetic attempts to address major, glaring societal problems here and abroad. This is what really stood out to me in these new revisions for the handbook. The first one is about, quote, prejudice, which that's got to be about racism, is what they're mainly talking about. And recently, Dallin H. Oaks, who's one of the counselors he's one of the top 3 right now, good dudes in the church, but will be the number one guy if he outlives old man Russell the Muscle Nelson. But Dallin Oaks recently did a whole speech about racism, in which, of course, he couldn't help but be a little racist because he's old and he has a great history. But he didn't want racism to exist. Like he did this whole thing about like racism is bad, but Black Lives Matter is bad too, and they're just a bunch of looters. But racism is bad. So they've added some language to the handbook that says, quote, all people are children of God, are all our brothers and sisters who are part of his divine family. Prejudice is not consistent with the revealed word of God. Favor or disfavor with God depends on devotion to him and his commandments, not the color of a person's skin or other attributes.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you
cute.
Really, yeah. But the thing is, Dan, you don't want to alienate people who potentially will give you 10% of their income.
Right.
I mean, this is really important, right?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, and the white folks aren't doing it very much anymore. But
they're starting to fall away, right? But they're exploding in Africa right now.
Yeah.
So,
but I got to think that this is like knowing the Mormon Church's history with racism, which is that it used to be not institutionalized in the way that we say there's institutional racism in all of our government and in companies and stuff. No,
lest we misunderstand.
Don't misunderstand me. It's not that insidious thing where it's like it's this unspoken set of rules that keep people of color down and and automatically kind of advance white people. No, this was just explicit racism that was like from God himself, supposedly. Yeah. And it's still in their main book. It's still there, right there in the Book of Mormon. So until they get it out of there, they really are going to struggle. It's never going to work out very well for them. But they are called to root out racism and abandon attitudes. Well, they say attitudes of actions of prejudice and actions of prejudice, but what they mean is abandon the attitudes that we fucking taught you right up for most of your life, old folks.
Yeah.
But the last thing I wanted to touch on is the one that is, I think, the one that they are the most scared of, but have no idea how to handle.
Well, it's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
What they're trying to handle.
They are on a balance beam that is an inch wide and 400 feet up, and they don't know what to do about it right now because, as we've talked about recently, there is a whole section, like half of the Mormon Church is trying desperately to bring it into this century and say, hey, maybe all of our opinions on, gay people and trans people are a little retrograde, and maybe we should move forward, and maybe, our subjugation of women and our, maybe all of the terrible things about us could be slightly amended to be better. And on the opposite side of things, there's the Desnat, the Deseret Nation, crazy, Trump is way, way, way too liberal for them. The right-hand side of things, the far-right crazies.
Yeah.
And they are getting stronger and stronger and louder. And it's scary because, as we've talked about, the prophet of the church, or not the prophet, but like the official church position has come out with things like wearing masks is a good thing, and you don't have to be conservative, and they congratulated Joe Biden on his win before he was actually sworn in, and people lost their minds about it. The far right, deeply conservative side of the church went apeshit and took the side of Trump over their religion. So here's what the church says now in the handbook. Quote, seek out and share only credible, reliable, and factual sources of information.
Oh, boy.
Avoid sources that are speculative or founded on rumor. The guidance of the Holy Ghost, along with careful study, can help members discern between truth and error. Oh, my God. That is so too little and way too late.
Well, and it's also just the same old... their advice will lead all of these people to just keep going whatever direction they're already going in. Because
100%.
The Holy Ghost is only going to confirm what they already want to do. Because that's how
the Holy Ghost has never told any of these people what they didn't want to hear, because the Holy Ghost is the voice of their own self inside of their dumb head. So, for them to... what they're trying to do, what the church is trying to do is say, maybe QAnon might not be the best source for you. Maybe InfoWars isn't the best way to get your news. But what the people who are listening to QAnon and InfoWars are hearing when they hear that statement is, definitely stay on the path you're on, because the sources that are speculative or founded in rumor are obviously CNN and MSNBC and now Fox and now blah, 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 blah. Like, literally everybody's just going to, like, confirmation bias kicks in on this one immediately, and it becomes meaningless. So we predict schism.
Skiz.
It's going to skiz, baby.
Skiz in the 20s. It's happening.
What,
do you want to put how many years before you?
There should be an office. This is the office pool on how long it takes for
how long
schism.
Years, months.
I think it's starting to happen. The question is, what leader of the Des Nat army rises up and says, "I'm the real church now. I'm the captain now."
Yeah.
Once we see that leader, I mean, some leaders have tried to rise up recently. Yeah. You were talking about Denver. There's a guy named Denver Snuffer. His last name is Snuffer. Come on, man.
Well, they're now going to be Snufferites.
Snuffarians.
No, this guy, he's been preaching his own Mormon gospel for 10 plus years, maybe more. He's been excommunicated. He wrote some little pamphlets or whatnot, some little books that he was spreading around that the church does not like at all.
Right.
And he's getting followers. Like people are. I'm sort of somewhat aware of some people who left the Mormon church to go follow this guy. Like, it's happening.
I think I've been in a room with him. I wasn't aware of who he was at the time, but I actually went and heard a crazy, like, fringe Mormon dude speak, and I think it was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But anyway, he's out there. There's others. I don't know if, like, Des Nat is going to surround them. I don't themselves around him or what, but, like, you're right that it's Des Nat that's going to be one of the big skizzes.
So we'll see.
I mean, it would be great to see because largely the Utah Mormon Church, except for like what happened at the end of polygamy, right? The breaking off that happened then with the FLDS,
right?
Like they've been pretty skiz free for quite a while. I mean, a lot of the other branches have all like had multiple skizzes happen. So
yeah, I think there may have been a minor schism when the church actually did allow black people to get the priesthood, sort of fully enfranchised black folks back in the late 1970s.
Yeah,
which was a little late in the game. Anyway, Skiz Watch, we're on it. We will keep you up to date as the events unfold.
I love that we've just made up our own word. I mean, schism is the word, right?
Yeah, but to skiz.
Skiz is so better.
When you verb your nouns, you get to do whatever you want with it. Anyway, if you would like to skiz, please feel free to write into us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist for as long as Facebook lasts.
And while it's still there, there's also the Members Only Lounge, which is on Facebook, but you can find it best by going to thankgodimatheist.com/members only. Also, you should follow us on Twitter because there's good things happening on Twitter at TGIAtheist.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in, my beloved brothers and sisters.
Bye-bye.